And we're back, and Hailey, we decided last segment that we were going to just pick a paint topic out of the air.
Yeah, we were winging it.
And we did. Over the break, we realized, you know what? We need to talk about painting a drop ceiling.
So obvious.
Yeah, we just spent a whole segment talking about, a couple of segments.
Right.
Talking about ways to update a drop ceiling.
Yeah, with the Armstrong flush mount ceiling panels.
Yeah.
They're a wood look. Kind of like shiplap.
Definitely cool, definitely inexpensive, really, on the grand scheme of things. We talked about it. But not everybody's going to want to rush in and do that.
Yeah.
What about painting it? It's a really great project, a really easy way to update that space dramatically.
Exactly. It's really dramatic still.
Yeah,
so.
very inexpensive, but there are a few things that you need to know. And I know a lot of people get confused or concerned or convinced that this is going to be a more complicated project than it is. And it's because there's a lot of different materials up there. You've got that metal grid. You've got your ceiling tiles.
Whatever they're made of.
Whatever they're made out of. What do I put on them?
And we don't ever do that project either. I mean, we maybe do it once, maybe.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you need, how you do it, and all of that. But before we jump into that, I guess we do have to take one quick step back and talk about
problem areas.
Some problem areas. Because sometimes drop ceilings will get the brown staining from like water stains or something like that. Well, you can't just prime over those or paint over those with regular paint, or most likely it's going to bleed right through.
Exactly. Even general purpose primers don't actually block out that stain very well because they're not built specifically to do that. There are specialty primers like Bin, for example, that are a little stinky, but they work really, really well.
Yeah, they'll block it out. You can get it in a spray can if you've just got a couple of tiles, take a couple of them down, go outside, mask off the area. Don't do this on the driveway. My children did some painting on the driveway, and I still have these nice outlines of everything they painted. Mask it off with a drop cloth. That's why you want a drop cloth. But yeah, you can just spray those areas, spot prime them. They dry very fast, and then you can put your water-based paint right over top.
Yeah, still very simple.
So let's say you've got all of that fixed. Now let's talk about that grid. That's the first thing that we need to deal with.
Because it is metal.
It is metal.
And that's a material that typically we would prime first or, use a specialty paint for.
Yeah.
We're not just putting like a normal water-based paint over it typically, unless we're scuff sanding that and making sure that it's clean and it's going to bond really well. It's a lot of work for what we're talking about. And I think especially with a grid system that's a drop ceiling, it's not going to be super simple to sand that.
Right. So we've got a great option.
Yeah.
Insulex makes, Insulex is a Benjamin Moore company.
Yes.
And they've got a whole wide range of products. We carry a lot of their primers. One of the primers we talk about all the time, it sticks.
Yeah, it's like one of those silver bullet products where it just does an amazing job at this very specific thing, which is bonding to things.
Right. It bonds to everything. We've put it on glossy ceramic tile, on glass. Even, just to test it. And it bonds to that. You can barely scratch it off.
Yeah.
Really good product. Get a quart of that. Get a little 4-inch roller. Clean those grids so there's no dust and stuff like that. And then just roll them with sticks. You don't need to do any scuff sanding or anything, really.
Right.
The sticks will bond really well, and then you can put your paint over top of that.
Exactly.
So let's say you got that done. What about the paint for the ceiling tiles themselves? Specialty paint?
Good
Not really.
water-based ceiling paint.
Yeah, that's really all you need.
Benjamin Moore's Ultra Flat Ceiling Paint is our personal favorite because it is a dead flat. You don't get any of that glare, and you can even tint it to any color you want and still not have any sort of shine to it.
Yeah, so that can go over the ceiling tiles themselves and the grid that you've primed with sticks.
Exactly.
And all of that's going to look great. Really easy to work with. Benjamin Moore's premium waterborne ceiling paint.
Color.
Let's talk about
color.
color.
We just said that you can put any color in that ceiling paint. Most people are probably thinking of a white ceiling right now.
Because they want it to feel higher, right? We want it to feel
you want
like
it to feel open.
Right.
And, there is a brightness that brings to the space. So you've got to weigh the pros and cons. But really, if you want the ceiling to feel higher, what you'd want to do is go with a darker color.
Which completely seems like crazy talk. We've talked about it on the show, though, and it really works. The darker the color, instead of closing in the space,
it recedes.
Yeah.
It's science of light. Darker the color, the more that recedes in our vision. So if you've got a dark color on a ceiling, it's going to look like it's higher than if you have a white on the ceiling.
Yeah, so I'm going to paint my ceiling white so I feel taller in the space.
Hey,
like
there
I'm
you go.
Closer to the ceiling.
Yeah, that's a good trick.
All right.
So optical illusion.
Right. Yeah. What if I don't want to go with white? What if I don't want to go to a really dark color, though? You've got another trick.
Mm-hmm.
that's basically making the same color as the walls and putting that on the ceiling, right?
Exactly. If they're both the same color, then that boundary of where the wall stops and the ceiling begins gets blurred a little bit. So you're not as aware of where that ceiling starts, and it feels higher.
Yeah. So anyway, there's your color. We've talked about the product. We've only got a few seconds left. One other thing to think about is if you're going to go to a dark color, you might, it depends on your ceiling tiles. And if you can get them out of that grid easily and put them back in easily, I might paint them down because I've seen them painted while they're up there and the grid masks off certain areas and you can't paint them.
Right.
And when the ceiling tiles expand and contract, you see that white very, very obviously.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that. I'd rather put them back in and do the little touch-ups that I have to do to cover that spot over. But you'll have to play that out by ear. But again, by all means, swing out to any Repcolite or Port City Paints. Talk about the project. We'll get the right products in your hands and help you get on the way. All right, that's it. That's all the time we've got. We're wrapping it up. If you want to find this one again, you can find it online at repcolite.com. I'm Dan Hansen.
I'm Hailey Johnson. Thanks for listening.